So, welcome everyone to Tuesday night meditation. So, let's start by sitting up comfortably. And a little reminder that all three of those words are significant. If your physical condition makes it difficult to sit, then lying down on your back or something is always fine. But otherwise, sitting is optimal. Sitting up rather than slouching, but sitting up comfortably. So right there, you see, kind of inherent in that instruction is what in the Buddhist world is called the middle way. The Buddha describe there's a story where the Buddha is explaining the middle way, the golden middle path, to a musician. And he says, when you're tuning your instrument, you're tuning the strings, if you make them as tight as possible, is that good? You get a good sound? No. If you make them as loose as possible, is that you get a good sound? No. What is it? It's the sweet spot between too tight and too loose, which is actually how to do everything. you know, it's how to live your life. And in fact, our meditation is always it's not some special isolated thing. It's a little model. It's a little greenhouse, green sapling shoots for how to be in life. So right here, that's a little reminder, a little paradigm of middle way living. So we're sitting up, but comfortably, not stiff, but not slouching. Somewhere, and that may feel a little different for each person, but finding where that, and might be a little different from one time to the next, but just finding where that middle way is of sitting. And let's see, let's start with singing a couple of descending fifths. If you're not familiar with this on-ramp into meditation, it sounds like ah. Just remember blue moon or Flintstones. Ah, and for various reasons, this is like the most vibrationally, mathematically, musically, the most releasing, the most relaxing interval between two notes. And remind me after the meditation to say something else about this. So, so let's sitting up comfortably. Let's take we want to take a nice deep breath so that on the second note, without straining, we can just hold it as long as we can comfortably, not to be in a breath contest, but so that you can get lost in it, kind of beyond time. Okay, so breathing in, really filling up. And we're going to do the five vowel sounds of a, e, o, u. So now comes a. Breathing in. A. And you can have the idea of the sound not just coming out your mouth, but coming out all your pores, 360 degrees, just radiating out beyond the farthest horizon, facilitating you melting, just your little individuality melting into the boundlessness. So next is E, breathing in. E. O. If your eyes are still open, let them close, and let's do the 5 sounds one more time. Now we forget about all that and just remain as we are. Letting the breath take care of itself, letting the body take care of itself. Letting the 5 senses take care of themselves. Letting existence take care of itself. Just being completely off duty. Our usual job or jobs of trying to run things, trying to get things to go a certain way, trying to understand things, trying to monitor things, remember things, evaluate things. How am I doing? Am I getting this right? Am I getting it wrong? All those jobs we give ourselves throughout the day and throughout our life. We just quit. Quit them all at once. Throw them all into the fire. Certainly don't make meditation a new thing to get right, to monitor, to understand. Exactly the opposite. This is our chance to quit from everything. All our responsibilities, all our theories, all our understanding, all our blah, blah, blah. How refreshing. Throw it all into the fire. and just be in the open space that remains, in the freedom that remains. Anytime you find yourself think, wait, am I supposed to do something about these thoughts or these feelings or this breath or this or that? Just, nah, I quit. There's your mantra. I quit. Deliciously quit. Dolce far niente, as the Italians say. Dolce far niente, sweet doing nothing. When we sit like this, just quitting, quit from all doing, from all trying, from all regulating, what's left? Notice what's left. There's stuff coming and going, phenomena, right? Sounds, sensations, thoughts, feelings, experiences. And there's the one that experiences them. The sense of I. That sense of I, the experiencer, the silent, invisible witness to all experience. Nothing special that's created in meditation. It's the invisible, silent experiencer of every experience you've had in your life. Only for once we're not trying to do anything about the stuff that comes and goes, that's witnessed by this eye. We're just letting it come and go. and relaxing into the I. For once not caught up in the stuff that comes and goes. For once not caught up in the experiences, we can just, that as it were, present themselves in front of us, we can relax back into the experiencer. That's it. That's simple. Just relaxing back into this invisible, silent, textureless, boundless I that's been here all along, kind of lurking behind all our experiences. And anytime we feel caught up in something, some sequence of thoughts, some feeling, some effort, anything, fine. Just relax your grip. Relax back into the I. Relax your grip on the experience. Relax back into the experiencer. That's simple. Or just say, I quit. Same thing. We never have to look for this I. We're always already in it. We're always already it. The looking is taking place within it. Like a bird flying around looking for the sky. And like the sky, this I, this awareness, this beingness is open, empty, even when it's full of stuff. Even when awareness is full of thoughts and whatever, just like when the sky is full of clouds and birds and sun and moon and rainbows, its essential perfect emptiness, its spaciousness is unchanged. Space is space. Being is being. I is I. There's never a time when we cannot just relax back into this I that has no boundaries, nothing happening, no story, no conflict, no problems, no nothing. Perfect, delicious, empty awareness. And as always, keep the eyes closed for a couple of minutes. As you gently bring the body back to a more active state. And then when you feel ready, you can slowly open the eyes, but take your time. Take all the time that the body wants. Okay, how is everyone doing? Good. Good, good, good. Um, any questions first about the meditation? This simple non-process of non-doing, this sitting and relaxing back into our own being.
I have a question.
Yeah, who am I hearing?
Yafa.
Oh, hello. Thought that voice sounded familiar. Okay.
um, it was interesting when you said the uh, open sky like a bird, or you said,
Looking for this beingness is like a
right,
bird looking for the sky. Mm-hmm.
right, that, right. And it made me think about that, the difference is that we're like the birds, that we're so busy looking for food and building nests that we don't notice the sky.
Right.
And that's what we're doing all the time.
Yeah.
Um,
Most of
so
the
it's
time.
really
Yeah.
being aware of awareness. So even though there's nothing to do and nothing to look for, there is
Mm-hmm.
that extra shift. And I've mentioned this before, at least
Mm-hmm.
for myself, that
Mm-hmm.
it's aware of awareness. Like, as the birds are building their nests and all that, it's like, yeah, we get so immersed in stuff
Yeah.
that we don't always see what's
Yeah.
right
Oh,
here.
absolutely. So we have to sometimes we have to keep finding it. We have to keep finding it. Now that's different from looking for it. Okay. And it can certainly seem at first, wait, I'm looking, I hear about beingness and enlightenment and infinity and God. And where is it? We even use this word seeker. I'm a spiritual seeker. And that expectation can be very ingrained, and we can bring that expectation into our meditation practice. Most people do. And that's fine. We have to burn through some of this stuff. All right. Um, but this is something actually I learned from Nakchang Rinpoche, which is um, not look for, find. There was this one instruction he used to give for everything, whatever we were doing, and we do all these crazy stuff out of the Tibetan tradition where you're like making these, I forget what they're called. They look like God's eyes, weaving them out of yarn, and all this stuff with mantras, and we're banging on cymbals, and whatever the activity was, he would say, um, oh, I want to get the words exactly right. Find the presence of awareness in the dimension of, fill in the blank. Find the presence of awareness in the dimension of banging the cymbals together, or whatever we're doing. And people would ask about, well, when we're looking for it, he said, no, not looking for it. Find it. Find it. Right? So, because the moment we start looking, we're like looking outside of ourselves. It's like looking through the windshield of the car. Ooh, here's a cool thing. Let me drive to Bryce Canyon. Oh, cool. Let me drive, on the Hilo Road or whatever. What's that road called in Oahu? Never mind.
The road to Hama.
The road to Hama, right?
Maui.
Right in Maui, right? Let me drive to this. It's like all this cool stuff. We have this idea of looking, partly because of the way we're built with eyes in front. If we were bugs with eyes on antennas out here, it might feel different. But we have this orientation of looking in front for something to drive toward. So to counteract that, we can sometimes, we say it a lot, relax back into it, right? Even that is not 100% accurate. It's just kind of there we say relax back to cancel out the ingrained tendency to lean forward, right? But it's really just be where you are. But as you often point out to me, Yafa, to just say to people, be where you are, even though that's really valid, it may not always be 100% helpful. So we provisionally say things like, oh, just relax back into it. Just find it. Just find it's there. When the moment you start to look, it's there. There's a wonderful Aesop's fable about the little dog who's trotting along with a juicy bone in his mouth, and he's trotting along, and at one point he comes to a little bridge across the pond, and he gets halfway across the little bridge, and he looks down and goes, oh, there's another dog with a bone in his mouth, and his bone looks much juicier. I want that bone. And so he opens his mouth to snap at it, and in that moment, he loses the real bone. Right? And, we learned all these Aesop's fables. I don't know if do people still learn that stuff? I don't know. I did as a kid. We learned all these Aesop's fables, and they're really Dharma tales. I mean, actually, a lot of them literally come out of the what's it called? The Panchatantra, I think. There's this ancient Vedic teaching tales. So that's a perfect teaching tale about what happens when, we're all, whether it's in meditation or just in life, we're trotting along through life with perfect beingness already there, but then we keep seeing the reflection of it. Oh, there's that sense of okayness, that sense of happiness, that sense of peace that I'm looking for. And it's residing in this steak, or it's residing in this job, or it's residing in this new car, whatever it is. Now, that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with having the steak or the job or the car. This is called, life in the human realm. But the difference, it can externally, we can look just like anyone else. Oh, we got the car, we got the job. But the difference is that what the Buddha called ordinary people are looking for, expecting the to find the peace, the happiness in the car. It's out there. We're The more we practice falling back, relaxing back into the beingness that is our own essential nature, the more we're in that when we have the car, we're in that when we don't have the car. And then if the car reflects it back in a particular fun car-ish way, cool. But if your whole if you really think the car is it rather than knowing, tag, you're it, then everything's fine till the car gets a crumpled fender, and then it feels like you're crumpled.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Yehudit.
Yehudit. There
Yeah,
you are.
hi.
Hi.
So I'm not sure how to phrase it.
Mm-hmm.
I question that when you said don't look for it, find it.
Mm-hmm.
For years I used to tell my children when they were looking or saying, I'm going to look for a job. I said, don't look for a job, just find it.
Yep.
So
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking now, I always said it because at the time, and I still feel like this, there's no excuse not to finding a job, no excuse, okay? People have excuses, whatever, find a job.
Mm-hmm.
But now combining that, what I was thinking at the time, or what I think what I mean when I said that to my children, or I used to, combining it with what you explain now, I feel like that perhaps even unconsciously I'm looking at that, at this action of finding a job, being really focused, being really at the moment, and not when you have excuses, you're not in the moment now. It's like, it doesn't matter. So I'm like, I'm not sure what is my question really. Is it the same? I mean, I don't know. It's just when you said it, it's this what I used to say. This is what I say.
The main thing I'm getting from what you're saying is, without necessarily all the specifics of that story, but just in general, that when you were talking to your children about this one thing, you were also talking to yourself about the thing, which is the beingness. And I would say that's what we're all doing all the time. Whatever we're talking to anyone about anything, everything we're doing is really with reference. It's really talking to ourselves. It's singing the song of the infinite to ourselves, trying to remind ourselves. There's a story from the Vedic tales of which of the gods is it? I forget now if it's Krishna or Shiva. Anyway, one of them, doesn't matter. One, in the Vedic, or the Hindu so-called tradition, every god is an embodiment of the infinite. It's just, which one you happen to like to be attracted, which form of the formless you enjoy dealing with in this moment. So one of those gods, he wants to experience what what all his creations are going through. He wants to understand what their life is, where they're just living in the senses. So he incarnates himself as a pig, and he's just okay. Oh, this is fun, and he's rolling in the mud, and he's a what do you call a male pig? A boar, and he's having sex with all the sows, and he's eating all this eating like a pig and rolling in the mud, and he's having such a great time that he forgets that he's God. right? He forgets that he's God. And so all his disciples now, right, are all the devotees of God are going, uh-oh, this is really bad. God has forgotten himself. And so they go and they stand by the side of the pigsty, and they sing the bhajans, they sing the hymns, right? Because all the hymns, all the bhajans, Hare Krishna, Om Namah Shivaya, whatever, they're all basically saying, hey, Tag, you're it. Right? And they sing these songs to remind him of what he is. So, in a sense, that's what we're doing all the time. We're everything we're doing, in a sense, is we're doing it to remind ourselves.
Thank you.
Sure. Good. What else? What else tonight? I mentioned at the beginning when we were starting with the singing the descending fifths. I said, please remind me. I want to say something else about it. So this is one of the many on-ramps, one of the many ways we can on-ramp or slip road, as the Brits say, into meditation. Oh, say, can you see? Now, if this one talks to you, if you like this, you can do it at home at the beginning of meditation or any time. I do it in the shower in the morning, get my voice going. It's really good for your voice as well as your consciousness. And the most effective way to do it is find the lowest note, for the second note, the lowest note you can sing comfortably with full volume. So wherever your voice would be. See, now I'm starting to lose power. So, and then from there, you go up 5 steps. Right? One, two, three, four, 5. And then that 5, that's what is called your sa, S-A. That's the note that for you that's actually the supposed to be the optimal note for singing mantras and so forth, a fifth above your lowest note. And then that's where you do your descending fifths from. Just get lost in that. And it's really good for keeping your vocal cords from getting all creaky and dried up like an old person and so forth. And then someone pointed this out a couple of weeks ago in one of these sessions. If you do that with some regularity so that it becomes a very natural thing, and feeling the letting go, the settling back into yourself as you settle from the higher note into the lower note, then when you're in a tense situation, if you can do it out loud, fine, but if you're like with other people or something, you can't do it out loud, you just do it mentally. And it's like, oh yeah, just a way of cueing yourself back into right here. Okay, any questions about that? No, we're good? All right. Okay, so before we started tonight, Irene mentioned a question about, she was asking about she'd heard this Tibetan Lama Mingyur Rinpoche talking about the Bardo, B-A-R-D-O, B as in boy, A-R-D-O. So I said I would talk about that a little bit. So this is kind of a unique, I tend to emphasize the commonalities from the different spiritual or meditative traditions. This is kind of a unique perspective from the Tibetan Buddhist teaching tradition. The word Bardo literally means something like island, or intermediate. Median would be a good kind of modern translation. You know where you have the median in the middle of the highway, right? The
Right.
little island, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the idea of the Bardo is a is a place, like a stopping place between two other places, right? There's something before and there's something after. So literally, a Bardo would be any experience, any place of experience between a before and an after. Now, most often we hear about it in the context of the bardo between death and rebirth. Okay, right? We go through the cycle of a human life, then the body dies, and from the kind of materialist point of view, that's it. That's all she wrote. They plant you in the ground and or burn you up, sprinkle you in the sea or whatever, and you're done. Which makes perfect sense if you in fact are this body, if you're a hunk of flesh, right? But through our meditative practice, more and more clearly we experience, no, I'm not a hunk of flesh. I'm boundless beingness. I'm boundless beingness, and this bunch of sensations that registers as a hunk of flesh is one of the things that I experience. It's not me. Okay, so from that perspective, when we die, or as they say in India, a little more precisely, when we drop the body, right? When the body drops off, then just the beingness, the awareness is left, right? Now, that doesn't mean personality. It doesn't mean mind. Those are also things that are kind of part of the clothing of the beingness, which then is dropped at the time of dying, right? But there is a kind of the idea, there's a kind of a stream, a continuity of the beingness of what, to use a Western term, we could say the soul, or the right, and that continues, and then it takes another birth. Takes another birth. And the idea is that we keep doing that, and each time we get an opportunity to get clearer about what we really are. It's kind of like going to school. You go to the fourth grade from September till June. Then June, you disappear. No, you don't. No one. They can look all around the schoolyard. They don't see you. Right? You're gone from there. That's graduation, or as we call it, death. Right? Then you come back in September for the fifth grade. Now, when you came back, actually, now not speaking as a metaphor, but actually back when you were in school, when you graduated from the fourth grade, then 3 months later came back to the beginning of the fifth grade, were you the same person? Kind of yes, kind of no, right? Kind of yes, kind of no. You learned certain things in the fourth grade and then had some chance to develop. Well, you're just kind of resting back from all of it over the summer. And you come back for the fifth grade, maybe with a chance to get a little clearer about what's what, a little clearer about what you really are, a little clearer about what all these so-called others really are, that we're really all part of this wonderful beingness together, that this non-separateness, also known as love, is what it's all about, right? And the best way to relate to all of them, the appropriate way to relate to love is kindness, because they're all the same thing that I am. We get more and more of a chance to get that straight. When we finally get it really straight, what we call enlightenment, we don't have to come back anymore. Then you've really graduated. You're done with school, right? And you don't have to come back anymore. Now, again, something unique in the Tibetan tradition is this idea that even when you don't have to come back anymore, you might choose to come back to help others. Right? You're done as a student, but you could come back as a TA, right, as a teaching assistant to help the other students. And this is what's called the idea of the bodhisattva. Actually, it's not just in Tibetan tradition, in all the northern Buddhist, the Mahayana Buddhist traditions. The idea of the bodhisattva, the one who keeps hanging around. You take the bodhisattva vow. I'm going to hang around birth after birth till all sentient beings attain enlightenment. It's this very kind of noble aspiration. So this is the big picture. Within that, a kind of a essential piece of that whole machinery is the transitional point, the transitional time, the median, the island between death and rebirth. Now, there's a whole book about that's a guide book through that Bardo. It's called the Bardo Todol, which is usually translated in English as the Tibetan Book of the Dead. It's a mistranslation, but you've heard of that, right? And so the Tibetan Book of the Dead is basically a guidebook for letting go of the body at the end of life, and then for these certain kinds of experiences that are supposedly come along while you're navigating through the Bardo. It's kind of like going through the fun house. Right? You know, like, okay, when you see the red light or when you see the blue light, or and you may feel, and you may go through you can go through visions that supposedly that are like, you know how a dream will so often kind of unspool the delightful things and the traumatic things you've been through during the day or during your life, sometimes in different form. So supposedly things like that all the pent up, the stored stuff, delightful and not so delightful, can kind of unspool in the forms of these various visions, and you can feel very attracted to some of the visions and repelled by the others. And the main instruction, what it boils down to through all of this, is don't get sucked into anything, don't get repelled by anything. Just stay on the path of the clear light.
Oh, okay.
Right? Don't go to the... Right. So in case you never get a chance to read the Bardo Todol, which is really hard to understand, don't even try to read it without, a teacher to help you.
A teacher.
Yeah, page by page. And that's not me. I'm not qualified to do that. But the gist of it, as I understand it, is just go for the clear light. Go for the clear light, which is the clear light of your own beingness, the clear light of your own clear awareness, and that creates the optimal situation for either just in case you didn't get totally liberated, totally enlightened in this lifetime, you could either find it in the Bardo, or else if you are going to come back again, that creates, they say, the situation for the optimal rebirth, to get born in the best. So then you're born already, looking for that kind of happiness and freedom, and would help you be born into a family and an environment, all that's going to be conducive to that.
So you're talking about reincarnation then?
Yeah, in that right. Actually, the Buddhists don't like the word reincarnation. They say rebirth.
Okay.
It's a technical difference. We don't have to worry about it, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, does this mean that now, oh, wait a minute, I thought I was just doing meditation here with Dean and getting relaxed and all that. Now I'm supposed to believe in reincarnation? No, don't believe in anything. Don't believe in anything.
No.
But if it starts to make sense to you, if it starts to feel intuitively, there's something about the way my experience of life is unfolding that somehow that seems in harmony with it, then, maybe we'd start to entertain it. Now, that brings us to the deeper meaning of the word Bardo. And again, for this, I'm indebted to Nakchang Rinpoche for really, giving me some clarity on this, which is, he said, every moment is a Bardo.
Right.
Right? Because what's a Bardo? It's a moment of experience between two other moments. Every moment is a moment between two other moments. And in fact, in every moment, we've just essentially died to the previous moment, and now we're going to be born into the next moment.
Right.
And in each moment, we have the chance to choose a better rebirth. Right? Because every moment is a chance to go for the clear light. Right? Every moment is a chance to relax back into the beingness, to relax back into what we are, as opposed to getting caught up in pushing away this thing or pulling toward this thing. And that gives us the optimal chance in the next moment to be reborn, quote unquote, into a better, brighter, more free, more open situation.
Yeah, I kind of feel that way when I do meditate, that sometimes it's like a rebirth, depending on how it goes.
Right. Exactly.
So,
That's exactly right. That's the rebirth. There you're going into the Bardo of meditation. And look what happens in the Bardo of meditation. The usual stuff in our day-to-day life kind of fades away. Right? It kind of fades away, and then we come back after, we've been there for 10 minutes or 20 minutes or 30, whatever it is. We open our eyes, and we come back to a world. Now, is the world we come back to the same or different? Or kind of same, but kind of different, because now we've been reborn, right?
Right.
So we could see this same pattern repeated on every level. We could see it from one instant to the next instant, every instant. We can see it on a little bigger scale. We meditate, and then we open our eyes. We go to sleep. We get up in the morning. We have whole phases of our life. Okay, I was in this job for this many years, and then I retired from that. Then maybe I did this, or I was in this relationship, and then, then some resting, right? So on every kind of levels, different scales, and then it might start to feel intuitively, it sounds right to me that maybe this would happen with actual physical death and then a physical rebirth, or not. In a way, it doesn't matter if that's the way things happen. That's the way they're going to happen.
Right. Well, I was in a coma for 7 days when I was 21.
Oh,
you don't know the story, Dean. I
no.
didn't get to tell you back in 1993. But yeah, I was run over by a car and hit and thrown 126 feet. I had been at a disco that night on a blind date, no less.
Wow.
And I went into a coma for 7 days, and oh man, it was like, it's almost like the awareness that you get when you meditate, very much like that, and when you are conscious, you are conscious during that.
Right.
I don't want to say anymore, but yeah.
Sure. And maybe sometime, you and I, if you feel like it, we'll talk about.
I would love to tell you. You would.
Oh yeah, let's do that sometime. But just for the purposes of this conversation,
right?
You were in the coma, Bardo. We could say, right?
Yeah, rebirth. Yeah.
Yeah, and you, okay. So okay. So does that shine some light on that term for you?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, because I knew it was a between period, like a transition period.
Right.
But I wasn't really sure because he don't go into it. He just mentions words, and he just didn't really go into it. But thanks.
You bet. So so then if you go back and listen to some of these talks by Mingyur Rinpoche, and you kind of plug in whatever understanding you've gotten here, maybe it'll make more sense for you.
Well, I'm beginning to understand a little bit about making pain your friend. Just like he made panic his friend, but it's coming really slowly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So no hurry.
No.
Okay, good. Okay, thanks, Irene. So here is the Center Sisters.
Thanks.
Yeah, you bet.
Oh, that is so cool, Dean. I think you'll love this because you know that I teach music to like very sort of going to, well, I don't know, I parallel it to your style of teaching too, because it's a lot of wealthy Malibu kids or that sort of thing. So I try to help them with other sorts of life difficulties. And as we're analyzing the music, a lot of times, like if we're doing Bach or Beethoven, I keep noticing there's this term called an elision, right? Where it looks literally just like this. I have them draw that in their score. So it's like the first phrase of the music is ending, but it almost never has a clean cut end, right? It's never like as beautiful maybe as going to sleep, which I know that's not the same thing, but it actually does always. Yeah, you always have. And the more I analyze all of this music with these kids, I'm just like, guys, the whole thing is a transition. Like the whole piece of music is a transition. And then you even get to the end and it has like the perfect authentic cadence. It's called a pack, right? And then even the pack is like just a transition to get to the next movement or the next piece that they wrote. And it always starts like making me very happy because in my life, I've always felt like I'm in transition and I'm always reaching. This particular night really speaks to me because it's always like, of course, you could tell probably goal-oriented, eye on the prize thing, but it's very, very helpful, all the work that I've been doing with you and then transitioning into my own work.
I can confidently guarantee you that all the Dharma teachings, not just the one you just mentioned, but all the Dharma teachings, all the Dharma reality, you can find in music, right? It's all there. Starting with, on the simplest level, the fact that the notes only make sense in the context of the silence. You know, my father, I'm sure I've mentioned this, my father was a classical musician. He was an oboe player. And when I was growing up, you know, he would put a Beethoven symphony on the turntable and conduct his way through it. He would shed a couple of pounds in the course of it. He had a stick, he had a baton, and it was great. And he was always teaching me about classical music. And one of the things I remember was him talking about, you know, the most familiar bar of classical music in the Western world, of course, is the opening of the Beethoven Fifth. Right? Everyone knows that, and everyone knows it wrong, because everyone thinks it's da 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 da. Right? It's not da 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 da. It's rest. It's da 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 da. Completely different. Can you? Okay, I know you can know that. You can hear that. Can everyone else? Can you hear the difference between da 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 and da 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 da? Right? It's a completely different thing. Right, silent, and then, you know, go to a completely different field of music. You know, go to cool jazz. Miles. Right? Miles Davis said brilliantly, I always listen for what I can leave out. Right? I always listen for what I can leave out. And he, at his best, Miles plays, he plays like he's writing haiku. Right? Just, you know, a syllable here, a syllable there, and what it does is it enlivens all the silence between the syllables, the silence between the notes. All right. So everything. I guarantee one of these days I have to get you up with my friend Sean McAnally, who's the band director at the Pingree School where I used to teach, and I kind of got him into meditation, and he was teaching me music and jazz, and I probably told you about the day, 'cause I played a little saxophone, and I asked him, okay, Sean, because he's a real musician, he's a great jazz trumpeter, and I asked him, okay, Sean, what's the deal? What's the pith instruction on improvisation? What's the deal on how do you improvise? And he said, you think of something, and then don't play that. Right? You all feel that? You think of something and then don't play that. Right? Because if you thought of it, you've already turned it into thought. You've turned it into conceptuality. You've turned that into structure, and it's already become something limited. So there's that limited area of what you thought about, and then there's the vast, unlimited, risky jumping into the fucking ocean of everything you have not thought of. That's what you do. That's what you do.
Yeah, but I think I'm the kind of musician, like I'm the Thelonious Monk side, which is like whenever you throw whatever you've been thinking away, it just means there's more room for all the other thoughts to just funnel down into the whole thought bubble space.
Yeah. Did I ever tell you about the time I spent a few days hanging out with Thelonious Jr.? Yeah, Thelonious Monk Jr., a.k.a. T.S. Monk. He's a jazz drummer. And I was years ago, about the early 90s, I was trying to write a book about the teachers and mentors that inspired people's lives. So I was interviewing all these cool people in various fields. I interviewed Mr. Rogers, and I interviewed Maya Angelou, and I interviewed Dizzy Gillespie, and I interviewed Monk Jr., and he just told me all this great stuff. Of course, obviously his mentor was his dad. And he told me about how his dad would be like walking through the city, and he would be listening to, the sounds of the buses and the streetcars, or he'd find an old Coke can or something and be walking along, scraping it against the bars of a metal fence and listening. And then he'd get home and sit down at the piano and play all that back in his music. Just fantastic stuff.
Oh, you gotta, if you can, shoot that email to somehow the group or me individually of if you still have access to the interview. I'd love to hear it. It'd be so cool to hear. Whenever you bring these up, I mean to ask you about them. Is the idea of a meditator interviewing?
I'll have to dig that up. But the greatest quote about this stuff was it's actually in if you've ever seen Ken Burns' series on jazz, and it's Elvin Jones, great drummer who drummed for John Coltrane, and he said, people ask, what was it like playing with Train? And I told him, you had to be ready to die with the motherfucker. Right. So that complete just plunge, and just think about, that's plunging into the Bardo. You had to be, that's meditation, to be completely letting go. That's whatever concept you had of what I'm going to do, right? It's just like in meditation. I have a concept of what's supposed to happen in a good meditation. I'm supposed to not have thoughts, or I'm supposed to feel like this. And what I'm trying to gently guide all of us, including myself, to all the time is just pulling the rug out from under all that. And then what's left? Now that's something fresh. That's something alive. That's something real. That's the thing. Right? And that's got to be ready to die. And I sometimes say this. You've heard me say this about meditation. When you sit down to meditate, I don't say this to everyone because some people get scared by it, right? It's beginners. But you guys, this is the advanced course here, right? When you sit down to meditate, you want to know how to meditate, sit down and decide, that's it, I'm dead. That assumption that, okay, I'm going to sit here for 15 minutes, for 20 minutes, and then I'm going to get up and I'm going to cook dinner and life will go on. Well, maybe it'll go on. Maybe not. There's one time
before performance too. That's one of the things I do, which is like, here goes nothing. I could just have a heart attack in the middle of this piece.
Here goes nothing. Here goes nothing. Right. So, buy a one-way ticket. Because if we buy a round trip ticket into meditation, there's always some idea of there's some on some subtle level not totally letting go, not being ready to die with the motherfucker, right? There's some leaving a little rope ladder to climb back out, right? Cut that rope ladder. Just assume this is it. I'm dying, you know. And one time you are, you know. Very fortunate would be to do it while you're sitting up in meditation. You know, that's the ideal, because you're already just melting, and just that'll be the e-ticket ride. That's the big melt.
It's like, you're so right. It's like, you know, what do you got to lose? If you die that way, man, you're there.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. So in that sense, all our meditation practice, our daily meditation practice every day, it's the preparation for living. And, you know, as we've all experienced, and Irene, you've, you know, given us some really nice reports the last couple of sessions about how you're finding the quality of your life becoming more, having more clarity and relaxation and so forth. So the meditation is the preparation for living, but it's also the preparation for dying, just in case you ever have to die.
Right.
I'm sure it'll never happen to you.
No.
But just in case I'm wrong, right? But absolutely. And if it so happens that, okay, you're lying in a hospital bed, you can't physically sit up, that's okay too. We can be sitting up inside of ourselves, so to speak. You know, just like if we can't say out loud, we can do it internally, right? We can't sit up physically, but with this, what the real sitting up is about is being alert, attentive, relaxed, and we can do that within ourselves, even if the body is just, you know, flat out or something,
right?
And then just oh yeah, keep relaxing back into that, yeah, and you know, coming back to the Bardo Todol, the so-called Tibetan Book of the Dead, the guidebook. The first part of it is about letting go of the body, and it starts by and it's the narration. This is the thing, to have someone read to you while you're dying, or, you know, if you've just internalized the essence of it enough, hopefully, you know, it's there to know. And it starts by saying, they say, they address the person by name, right? And it goes, hey, right? Wake up. Hey, Irene. Or, hey, Ebony. Hey, Dorothy. Right? Like, pay attention, right? Wake up. And it goes, now you're dying. You know, all this stuff is in the West. It's gotten better for a lot of people, but there's still so much of denial. Don't tell them how serious it is. Oh, I'm sure you'll be up playing tennis next week, right? All this, right? And denial for the people close to you. Oh no, it's a disaster. You know, Uncle Fred we can't let Uncle Fred die. I've known of cases where the person was dying and the adult child, you know, jumped onto the bed. No, don't go. You know, it's not optimal. All right. So it's the opposite of that. It's the recognition, the embrace. Hey, now you're dying. Everything's fine. Right? And this is essentially what it says. Now you're dying. Great. Everything's fine. Everyone goes through this. This is not a mistake. Right? It's like everyone comes in the indoor, everyone goes out the outdoor. You know, this life here has been a Bardo. This is the median between birth and death. Right? So, okay, now you're gone. Everything's fine. Just let it go. Just relax. Right? It's the exact same instructions basically as we have in meditation. Just keep relaxing back into the I, the true I, the awareness, the boundlessness, and whatever else is there, just you know, let it be. Don't push, don't pull. Relax back into the boundlessness. Everything's fine. Anything else tonight?
Last plug for Dean's book on fear. It definitely helped us, move forward with my dad's death and everything. So,
oh, good.
Really, thanks
oh,
very
good.
much.
Oh, I'm
highly
so
recommend to anyone watching on YouTube later or tonight.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Is that the yes? Okay, it's right. I've got it. Oh, that's not that book. Okay. Yeah. In my book Fearless, there's a chapter called Valley of the Shadow, which is about these matters and goes a little more deeply into some of these matters. And yeah, a number of people have told me that one's been very helpful. No, somewhere. Okay. Fear
Like
less.
bringing your cappuccino. Oh, okay. I thought she was bringing the cappuccino.
Say it again.
Is Yaffa bringing the cappuccino or the book?
No, my lovely assistant has handed me the book in question with this pretty cover. Yeah, that's the one. Good. Yeah. Yeah, I like this book. There's good stuff in this book. That one and the other chapter toward the last several chapters is where I get into the deep waters in this one. Because, my publishers are always telling me 101 with my old publisher. I got a new publisher for the next book, but my old publisher was always telling me, keep it 101, keep it 101. So what I would always do, I'd always fool them. The first part of the book, like the first 2/3 or 3/4 of every book I've written is been 101. And then, if the reader's still hanging in with me, toward the end, I get into the deep waters. All right. So the Valley of the Shadow is in there. And also, one that a lot of people have told me is the most helpful thing that I've written. There's a chapter there called Lord Shiva Kicks Ass. Right. Lord Shiva is the Lord of dissolutions. The principle, all these things are personified as gods and, devas. The principle of dissolving, that everything dissolves. Everything comes into being. That's called Lord Brahma, hangs around for a while. That's called Lord Vishnu, and then dissolves, Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva is the Lord of dissolution, the Lord of dissolving, and also the Lord of enlightenment.
Right.
Isn't that interesting? All three of those phases are important. They're all completely necessary, but there's somehow when stuff is dissolving, whatever it is, now my job is dissolving, now my relationship is dissolving, now this aspect of my health is dissolving. And then, down the road, many years from now, or maybe a few minutes from now, my body is dissolving. Whenever something is dissolving, that's the extra cool opportunity to wake up into the boundlessness. Because the Lord of dissolving is the Lord of enlightenment. Lord Shiva kicks ass. And whatever stuff we hang on to and think, oh, this is it. Oh, this is it. Whatever it is, Lord Shiva will kick our ass around that thing.
Oh.
Guaranteed. Thank God. Thank Shiva. Okay.
Your meditation, Dean, your meditation on that book, okay, the two that you told us in the beginning one on chapter 5, I think, and then chapter 8 and then chapter 11.
Oh, you're talking about the meditations I have online. Right.
I don't read too much, but the one from 11 is great because you mentioned the ocean and the very bottom of the ocean, the very dark part of the ocean. And a lot of times when I am meditating, that's what I go to. The deepest, darkest, part of that ocean.
Right. Yep. Sometimes it seems deep and dark. Sometimes it may seem deep, sometimes shallow, sometimes dark, sometimes filled with light, sometimes big, sometimes small, sometimes, right? And we're not in charge, and something may seem the same way 99 times, the 100th time, totally different. We're just along for the ride. So, may all beings swiftly discover the great ease of melting back into what they've been all along. Melting, may every bird swiftly realize, I've been in the sky, I've been the sky all along. And thus may peace prevail everywhere. Loka samastaha sukhino bhavantu. Loka samastaha sukhino bhavantu. Loka samastaha sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
so
Dean.
much. Have fun.
Thank you, Dean. Good night.
Enjoy being.